Liftoff and the clock has started.
Go.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting Vobie One-Eyed Kenobi Showbie with me, Richard Vobes. Unfortunately, the lovely Julia is not very well today, so she's unable to come into the studio, but she is watching. Rest assured, she's there in the chat room, which is fantastic, and we do hope that she gets better. So sorry about that. It's just my ugly mug that you've got to contend with this evening on a Monday, the 8th of November 2021. However, I'm sure you're going to help me out tonight's show by giving me a call. If you've never called the show before, it'd be lovely to talk to you on 0793 4746 being the number to call. We have a show full of videos. Well, we've got three videos from some of our regular contributors, but regular or rather irregular, I suppose. David Vad has got, I'm not sure if it's his own dad dancing or whether it's a mate of him. Stephen, I beg your pardon, Aga has got some new trains running on the Ride Esplanade, and Mark Burgess has his dad driving a train. So you can see trains and dads are linking tonight's show. We're also going to be talking about mannerisms. This was something that was suggested in the last show, a topic to talk. If you have a topic that you would like us to discuss, then do let me know. And remember to get in touch with the show. Either give us a call on 0793 4746 790. The number is on the screen. Or if you want to get my attention, put at the little at sign, the Vobes show, and it should come up and I should be able to see it. So hello and welcome. Are you well? Did you survive the 5th of November firework? It seems that earlier today, even on a Monday, the 8th of November, people are still firing their fireworks, although actually in the last hour or so, I haven't heard any more. Did you go to an organised fireplace where they send them off? Did you stay at home? Did you remain inside cowering because you were frightened by them? Or did you set off your own fireworks? Did you catch fire? Have you got a fireworks story to tell me? Be interested to hear it. Give us a call on 0793474 whatever the 79, you know the number. I don't know it. I've only been doing this show for a long time. Lots of people saying get well, Julia, which is very kind of you. Simon says Julia getting a bit old now. What do you mean? Bit old? Oh, the big 4-0's coming up, yeah, at the end of the month. Ernie says, evening, Richard. Hope you're well. Thank you very much. He says, your videos to date have been absolutely brilliant. Well, that's very kind of you. Tomorrow, you'll see the deadly duo. That's Ollie, Ringer Ollie, and myself. We go off in search of a church that isn't there. And there's a couple of moments, hilarity moments, one of which, I'm not going to ruin it for you, but one of which I do a typical Vobes joke, and Ollie can't cope. Yes, it's one of those moments in that. We obviously, it's all scripted. It's all been written beforehand, years of rehearsal. No, of course it's not. It's all as it comes, but it is quite amusing. And also on Thursday, Dumpman and I, no comedy moments in it really. Well, one or two maybe, but we do go scrabbling down the tunnels of a funicular. Something to look forward to, with a bit of drone flying as well. So this week, hopefully quite interesting. I went out today on a walk at a place called Upper Dicker. Yeah, no, it is a place. Upper Dicker. There's also Lower Dicker. I think I was quite close to Lower Dicker to get to Upper Dicker. And then I went to, I made a bit of a blunder. I said to Julia it was Fartington, but it wasn't Fartington. Upper Dicker to Fartington. Actually, it was Arlington. Not to the reservoir at Arlington. There's a big reservoir there, but to the church. And blow me, I spent this 3-mile round-trip walk, got to the church. It was blooming people in there. Doing history, people of all people, blooming history people getting in the way, looking at mosaics and looking at the brass rubbings and taking photographs and being ever so earnest on what they were doing. Didn't bat an eyelid that I came in, but I couldn't record in the church. It was a real nuisance because it's like, there they were, and I'd be coming in there going, do you think that's a letter R? I think that's an R, don't you? Or do you think that's a T? I'm going to take another photograph of it just in case. Can you make out what that says? It's all on one line. Is that the date? It looks like the 7th of October, 1846. I think that's what it is. Can you see that, Ralph? What? I can't see. I can't. Since the cataract operation, I can't see a thing. One moment, let me get my white stick over here. Can't quite. Oh yes, October. Yes, definitely October 1837. It says here, Marmaduke Fishcake. He died with a sword in his belly, and his head was hanging low. So low it scraped on the ground. I can't see any more than that. Well, all right. Thank you, Ralph. So yes, I couldn't do anything in that church. Biggest Dickers, says Michael White. Yes, I think the Roman from Life of Brian, Biggest Dickers, came from Upper Dicker. I'm pretty certain that's where it was. Station Master's Choice says the main road along there is called the Dicker. Very nice. There was a lot of people walking. Also, I parked up near presumably it was a school called Bede, Bede. I've like in the Venerable Bede, presumably a religious school, is it? They're all walking around, all these young people looking very virile and what have you, in their black and it reminded me of Christchurch in a way, or Christ Hospital, or Christ the Saviour. I can't remember, something like that. Anyway, that's what I saw earlier today. when I was out there doing my thing. So there we are. Kerry Baldwin says, I've lived in Hailsham for 55 years and still not sure which one is Upper Dicker and which one is Lower Dicker. Well, I can, as long as you don't get your knicker in a twister, you'll be all right. Kerry Baldwin. Yeah, I nearly came into Hailsham. I thought, should I go and have a quick look in Hailsham? Is there anything of interest in Hailsham? Seems to be a sprawling place. Looking at the OS map, a bit of a sprawl out there. David Ved says, how's it hanging, Daniel? Hope it's not hanging with the lion. Ron Langley is saying hello, Mark. Hello, Mark. And Joanna Jones says, I used to work at Bede School. Have I got that right? Is it Bedes or is it B-Days? Is it B-Days? Does everybody go in and they go, oh, hello, welcome, I'd get you to sign the visitor's book in a moment, but would you like to step in there and just wash your bum? It is B-Day school after all, which I think would be a sensible thing. Some of those kids, probably haven't had a bath for years. Is it a private school or is it a public school? I never quite understand this business about a private school being a public school. It's public school, don't you know? If it's open to the public, then why can't the public go? Seems very strange. Sean O'Brien says the Vobes show is funny. It's funny, all right. I have a doctor's certificate about it. They said, yes, he's funny. He's funny in the head, that one. Never used a bidet, says Mark Burgess. No, I don't think I've used a bidet. A cadet, maybe, but not a bidet. That would be a bit funny. Kerry says they tried to ditch the B-Days because of the diversity. What diversity? Or lack of diversity, was it? Did they not have any B-Days in there at B-Days? B-Days. Welcome to B-Des school. We all are here Des. Some of us are Des O'Connor. Some of them are Desmond Morris. Do you remember Desmond Morris? He used to do that man watching. Do you remember that? Matt, you can get locked up for that these days, I think. Seabird says, on my 50th birthday, got everyone to wear something for the 80s, from the 80s even. What would your viewers wear from the 80s? Happy evening, everyone. That's a good question. I would live through the 80s, so I had a lot of old clothes from the 80s, most of them from jumble sales. Do you know, my life hasn't changed very much. Pretty much everything I have is second-hand. Apart from, actually, this jacket, nice as it is brand new. Not brand new now. I bought it about 10 years ago, but it's a lovely jacket. So now it's pretty old. The waistcoat that I've got on, I don't know if you can see that. There we are. Look, make it shine all the time. Make it shine like a boy going through a mine. It's time that you saw the quack at the end of time. For that was second hand. Sorry, I don't know why I got caught out. Upper Beeding is below lower Beeding. It's funny how these places, is it not north to south, is it? It doesn't seem to work properly. Dave Ivad said, I spent 3 days in bidets. Did you? Were they becoming, you made them sound like little corset or something. I was wearing my bidet the other day, and my wife came in and said, what have you got my bidet on for, darling? Oh, I'm trying that transmogrification thing. Transmogrification? Yes, you know, where I transgress into something monstrous. Oh, really? What is that? I'm not sure, really. I've got a bidet on. All I need now is a royal flush on my head and I'll be all right. I see you've got the chain round your neck. Yes, that is true. Anyway, Audrey Forbes has arrived. She says, I saw Desmond Morris at a book signing. He was shorter than I thought he would be. You were doing a bit of man watching, in actual fact there, Audrey. You were looking at a man signing books, and you were thinking, there's a little bit of secret language going on. I used to love that. I've got man watching as a book. I've got the actual book. Somewhere, goodness knows where that is, man watching. Fascinating. But it was, what was it, written in the 80s or 70s, wasn't it? So you look at it, and they're all in 70s and 80s clothes, probably exactly what what's his name, wants us to have a look at. What would you wear? Spandex. Was that a thing of the 70s and 80s? You could go out wearing spandex or a parka. I seem to remember everybody wearing parkas in the 70s. Stars B says, it's pronounced beads for bides. Yes, I know, I do know. I did say, like the Honourable Beads. I think I said that at the very beginning. I know you may have missed that bit. So I was just taking me taking the mickey, you see. Sometimes I do that. I mean, you may not have noticed. It may be a complete and utter surprise to you, but actually I'm not as straight-laced as you may think. You may think of me as being very prim and very proper, with a bowler hat and a striped pinstripe suit, going with my umbrella, my briefcase, and sitting here and telling you the stuff that's going on the Vobes show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And here is the news, and I'm going to read it to you. But actually, I'm a bit more relaxed than that. So sometimes I do take the mickey, and I saw it there as, I know it was like the Honourable Bede, you know, the monk bloke who wrote the first English history and all of that. Of course, a bit out of date now. And then I just thought, I'll make a laugh out of it. Yeah, you understand? Good. I say, absolute shower. I watched I'm All Right, Jack the other night, yesterday afternoon, actually. I had a day on my own. I had a day off from everything. I cleaned the car. I haven't got a car. I cleaned the van, ladies and gentlemen, spick and span the van, and then I cleaned the SE, made it right messy. And after that, I cleaned myself. No, I did wash my hands afterwards. But after that, I did a number of other things. Oh, I edited some videos and got stuff, and I was reading Lucky Jim, Kingsley. I've just ordered some Kingsley Amis books, actually. Quite taken with his style of writing, so I'm waiting for those 3 books by Kingsley Amis. Interesting to see how they pan out. Pan. Interesting to see that. Why am I doing this? Pan. Anyway, why did I get onto that? Taking the mickey, says Mr. Mocky. Sure, taking the mickey, Mr. Mocky. Surely not, Mr. Hottie. No, what was it? Pronounced beat. Yes, and I. What was I getting up to? I was leading up to something, and I. Oh yes, I watched I'm All Right, Jack. Have you ever seen that? Absolute shower. Marvellous film, really. Ian Carmichael, superb. Terry Thomas, I say, absolute shower. Really? I couldn't know that. Good gracious, I'm rather fond of it myself. Oh, gotta love Terry Thomas, but it's such a sad ending to him. Like so many people, like Benny Hill, such a sad ending. It was a shame. But I watched that, and who else? Peter Sellers, he was marvellous. He was very, very good. Mr. Kite, Fred Kite. Yes, well, I think we'll have to go on strike. We'll have to call another... I'm the shop steward. We'll have to call out another meeting. It was... Oh, I don't know if you remember seeing it. I'm All Right, Jack. Brilliant film. Ernie says that I still have my new romantic, here we go, and futuristic clothes from early 80s, jackets, shirts, trousers, boots, belts, even makeup. Oh no, nice. I still wear them. I can still wear them as I wore them 4 years ago at a goth club. 9 years. Stop mucking. Kerry Baldwin says, we watched Ask a Policeman on Taking Pictures this afternoon. On Talking Pictures. What sort of Talking Pictures? Is that a channel of some description? Ask a Policeman. Who's in that? Ask a Policeman. Very funny. I kept thinking of the Vobes show. Ask a Policeman. Oh, is that Will Hay? Is that a Will Hay one? Is it Will Hay? Ask a Policeman. Very funny. When they do the speeding, and in the end he says, well, I'm afraid you'll have to show me your licence. Oh, I haven't got a licence. Oh, well, in that case, if you haven't got you'll have to show me your insurance. I haven't got an insurance. What, you haven't got an insurance? Well, you have to give me your licence. Well, I haven't got a licence. Well, if you haven't got a licence, you can't get any insurance. Well, in that case, I'm very sorry, I'll have to let you go. Something like that. You're wasting your time. Oh, that was the train one, wasn't it? Mark Burgess says, just seen Tim Curry on a Zoom call on YouTube. He looks a shadow of himself. Tim Curry, the name rings a bell, but I could not place him. He's an actor, isn't he? But I don't know what he looks like. These modern actors. Is he a modern actor? I don't know. I'll tell you who else was in it. There was this unique moment in I'm All Right, Jack, for those of you who could be bothered to listen to this and understand what the hell I'm talking about. There's a unique moment in which two of my favourite leading ladies, yes, are together on screen together. Irene Handel, oh my goodness, and Margaret Rutherford on screen together. I mean, it's almost unheard of. Irene Handel and Margaret Rutherford. Can you imagine it? It just Oh, poetry. Poetry. There was I, watching with my tissues, my two leading, because streaming eyes, you understand. Oh, a curry in a tin, says David Vad. Interesting. Sounds like we're an all-star cast. It really was. It was back in those days. Even Richard Attenborough was in it, and Dennis Price. Oh, hilarious! All good stuff. Michael White says if it had been Ben Kingsley, I would have asked for a gander. Or is that a Gandhi? I'm not quite. Was he a grandee? Gandhi? Did he ever become a grandee? I don't know. But there we are. Will Hay, yes, there we are. Ask a Policeman, Will Hay. It's absolutely hilarious video. They were great, and Moores Marriott and I always forget the other bloke's name, who's just as funny, if not funnier. The old. He wasn't that old actually, but Love Irene and Margaret, says Ernie. They were the days. Anyway, enough of all this gander. Mannerisms. We want to talk about mannerisms in tonight's show, and we want to show some videos, of course. And remember, I'm only doing an hour. Oh yes, matey, I'm only doing an hour because my time is worth less. My time is worthless. Mannerisms. Do you have any strange mannerisms, or do you know somebody with some strange mannerisms, or not necessarily strange or unusual mannerisms? What sort of mannerisms has anybody attributed to you? A sort of mannerism that you never knew you had? Because we've all got them, one way or another. You like walk with a limp. I squint with one eye because I've actually only got one eye. People have. Obviously there are those things that people say like. Yes, people put like in so many times, or know what I mean? Know what I mean? That's another one. When they say something perfectly clearly and say, I put the marmalade in the cupboard, if you know what I mean. And you go, well, I do know what you mean, because you've just told me. I am trying to answer the phone. Thank you. We have a phone call. Let's find out who it is on the blower this evening. Good evening. Welcome to the show.
Good evening, Richard. It's Terry Banton.
Terry Banton from Southwater. How lovely to hear your dulcet tones coming down the telegraph lines. How are you?
Yes. Oh, I'm quite well, thank you. You were talking about upper Dicker and lower Dicker and upper beading, lower beading. As far as I know, there's only a Southwater, but not a Northwater.
Ah, yeah, that's interesting. Then the Southwater. Did you know where Southwater comes from?
That's quite interesting. It's probably something to do with the River Arun, I possibly think, but I don't know. I'm only guessing.
Yeah, is it? I mean, it's what are you? 3.5 miles from Horsham, depending on where you start, I suppose.
The Arun runs through, as you know, around just south of the church there, doesn't it? St Mary's Church. The causeway.
Yes, that's right. So, how close to Southwater does it run?
Well, I haven't found it lately. The only thing I find are the lakes in the country park, but they're sort of artificial in a way, aren't they?
There's no brickyard.
Brick where they excavated the clay for Southwater blue bricks, which are used actually a lot in railway bridges because they're so hard, they're durable.
Special clay, isn't it? The Southwater blue. Do you know, I heard I was listening to the radio, I don't know, some time ago, and there was a bloke on the radio, this is probably on a Radio 4 programme of some description before I stopped listening to BBC altogether, and it was talking, there was a chap who had a collection of bricks. I know it's an odd thing, he lived in Scotland, but he had pretty much a brick from every old brick place, because in the old days they used to put their names on the bricks. The brickyards used to actually put their names on the bricks, and of course these I don't know how valuable they are, but if you wanted to source what an old Southwater blue is and you had no idea, you could go to this guy and he would go rummage around his house and go, just a minute, I think I've got one down here. There we are, clunk, and then they're up come with this brick with Southwater blue written on it.
Technically, I believe they're called in the trade an engineering brick because they're very hard, as I mentioned.
Yes.
And if you look at old railway bridges, they do have, these large viaducts across valleys and the like. They do have a sort of a bluish hue about them, hence their name, I guess.
Oh, right.
Grey, they are.
You say they're called engineering bricks. I know that there were tiles, weren't there, that looked like bricks, which I can't remember, were they called engineering tiles or technical tiles or something? There's a name for, and there's a number of houses, I know in Lewis, because I did a video about it, they're tiles that were hung on the front of a house that were not brick, but they're designed to look like brick, but they're not brick. They I can't remember what they're called, technical tiles or engineering tiles or something like that. It was one of those sort of things. And they were fake, but they were tiles that looked like brick. So you look at it and you think, oh, that's a brick house. So it's kind of like an early cladding. Georgian it was.
Yes.
That's a conversation stopper, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm trying to think now. Yes.
So do you have any strange mannerisms that anyone's ever told you about? Do you do some weird things, or do you know somebody with odd mannerisms that makes them recognisable and distinguished?
Well, I was thinking, I think I raised this as a possible topic last Friday, which you've taken.
I've taken it by the hoof.
Yes, and I was thinking today, mannerisms, when does it cross the line to bad manners? Are
yes.
Bad manners and mannerisms linked?
Bad mannerisms.
Yeah, because I was thinking, people sometimes, when you're talking to them, don't look you in the eye, do they? They sort of look away.
Yes.
You're obviously staring into a lens of a camera quite a lot.
Yeah.
So you have to, I suppose you do look away from time to time to give effect, don't you?
Well, I read the comments, which are to the side of the camera, just behind the camera on a television screen.
Yeah, but when you're out and about videoing...
Oh, when I'm doing that, yes, because, the whole thing about that is you look to the camera because you want to engage with the audience. I did have a comment once from somebody saying, stop looking into the camera. Stop looking at the... And I thought, the ridiculous comment that was, stop looking at the camera. I don't know what he was on about. Because I've been, as an entertainer, in a live performance way, on a stage. It's different if you're doing a play and you've got the third wall. You're aware of the audience, but you don't look at the audience or engage with them. But if you're an entertainer, you're engaging with the public and the people who are sitting there. And you want to make sure that if somebody is... I always used to see people, perhaps, if they were nodding off or they were yawning or they were chatting to somebody else, or God forbid, they picked up their phone and started to text somebody, I'd pick on them. Not in a, grab them from the audience, but I would walk up towards them and be looking directly at them, but still addressing the main audience. And they would quickly put that phone away or stop yawning or whatever. Or I might even say, oh, boring you, am I? I do apologise. I'm just about to juggle these razor-sharp knives over this lovely, delectable young lady, and you're on your phone. It's outrageous. Her life is in my hands, and you could be making a phone call, one terrible ringtone out of the ordinary, and those knives could fall and just chop off her head. And, I do that kind of thing. And that would embarrass them, and then they wouldn't dare look at their phone for the rest of the performance.
I think there are possibly two reasons why people don't meet eye to eye when they're in conversation. A, they may be shy, and looking into somebody's eyes, face, whatever, when you're saying something can be a bit off-putting.
Do you think, it's difficult to hold that eye contact, isn't it? Because as soon as somebody looks back at you, you might hold it for a second or so, and then you tend to look away, don't you? And it would be quite rude if somebody just continued to stare at you. Yes,
there's the fine line, isn't it, between staring and sort of engaging facially with someone.
And I always find it weird, not weird, I suppose, but I always find it strange that when you look at somebody, it is the eyes you look to, the windows of the soul. But why is it? Why do we look at... I know that we're aware that we're looking out of our eyes, but we automatically, even animals, will look at our eyes. It's just an unwritten rule. That's where the person is, through the eye. They're not, looking at your elbow and talking to your elbow as if... I know some horrible blokes would talk to women's bosoms and think that that's where they are. I used to know a lady who had relatively large bosoms, and she would always complain that everyone would talk to her but be looking down at her bosoms. And she'd say, hello, I'm up here.
I believe there's a survey, I'm not talking about the male, but females think about their appearance every 30 seconds. And you often see, particularly younger women, say 30, or teens, whatever, they sort of throw their head back, sort of shake their hair back, as if they've got hair sort of at least shoulder length.
Yes, you'd hope that by 13 they've got some hair.
Well, we won't talk about hair because I'm losing mine rapidly. But I haven't caught up with you yet, quite.
No, but you're not 13. You're not 13.
No, I had a good head of hair at 13, yeah. And I was back in the days when it was the fashion to wear it sort of below your earlobes.
Oh yes, big hair. I mean, that's the 80s.
Yes, in my 20s, yeah.
And people, lots of people had perms and all of that kind of stuff back in the 80s, perm out their hair. I mean, it just looked ridiculous if you ask me. And you see these pictures of people, like ABBA and what have you, and they got this massive, great and pop stars of that period, and they got this massive hair, and you just think, oh my goodness, it just looks ridiculous.
Just moving the conversation a bit onto bad manners.
Yes, go on.
I mean, spitting.
Yes.
I can't stand spitting. You see, not so much of it these days because it's gone out of fashion, but I remember a period when footballers on the pitch, for no particular reason, they would just spit, maybe when they missed a goal or something.
Do you think, chewing tobacco, people used to spit, and I wonder if it's, smokers do smoke, because not so many smokers, that you get your saliva going, something irritates the old mouth, whether you're chewing gum or something, and you've got stuff in there you want to, is that what you mean? Or is it that people would just actively spit as in spite? That spit.
I think it can be that people start to do it. Maybe they don't realise they're doing it sometimes. But it's certainly when I've been out in sort of the parts of Southeast Asia, spitting is not regarded as a bad manner. People do it. Well, men. I never saw any women doing spitting, but men.
Yeah.
Old men spitting, spitting image.
Yes, but I guess I'm just trying to work out, where that comes from, because it seems like the mouth is producing too much saliva, so they spit. It's not. You're not talking about people who spit at somebody because they're angry.
Spitting on the ground.
Yes, they're walking along and they've sort of got a bit of whatever it is, phlegm, and they just spit it up.
Yes, I mean, they could swallow it. They've got two options, really, haven't they, with saliva?
Yes, that's right. Well, I suppose they have, and maybe they just don't like the feel of it and want to gob it out.
Yes, and people who slurp when drinking their coffee or whatever.
Oh, I love a good slurp. Love a good slurp. I mean, that's how tea tasters get the taste of the tea by slurping, don't they?
Yeah, but when you're drinking coffee and when you're doing your domestic stuff or out and about with one of your mates, where you forget to put it down on the coaster.
Yes, well, apparently I'm not very good at putting cups down on coasters, so I've been told.
Yes. You like ring marks on tables.
I love a ring mark on a table, don't you? Yeah, I know. I know. I've been there. Then it's kind of like almost. I can just look at it back and think. If all I need to do is put glasses on it, and it's a picture of me.
Yeah. Anyway, my last bad manner is coughing and sneezing without using a handkerchief. When you're in company.
Yes, I think sneezing without a handkerchief, where you just happen to sort of get all that snot onto your friend, is not particularly good. So I'm so sorry. You've got a lot of snot hanging from your earlobes at the moment. Yes, yeah, I'm very well aware of that. Thank you. I mean, I'm surprised that I heard something somebody said on one of my videos, I think, or a comment to me somewhere, and said, "Oh, Richard, you're old-fashioned. You still have handkerchief in your pocket." Well, I'm if that's old-fashioned, but I do. There's my handkerchief. Look, grubby old thing that it is. I've had that in my pocket for 20 years. I ought to change it in another 5. But I was surprised that people don't have handkerchiefs in their pocket. Is that not a thing? Do you have a handkerchief generally in your pocket?
Yeah, I have for the last 5 or 6 years, but during the pandemic, we've all had to, some of us have had to wear masks.
Yes.
And, sometimes...
But you don't wear a mask 24/7, do you? I mean, even...
No, only when I go on, say, a public bus, I still wear one, or...
Yes.
in a large supermarket, something like that. I wear them at the moment. Yeah.
Stars B says some behaviours are cultural observations of practices. I wish I knew what that meant. That sounds terribly highfalutin. And some are just grim. Some behaviours are cultural observations of practices. So they're observing a practice according to their culture. That's a very thought-provoking sentence, isn't it?
That's a bit deep. I'll have to think about that one.
I know. We can't. That's like academic talk, that is.
Yeah. Anyway, the smarter people who wear suits often used to have a folded handkerchief in their top pocket, don't they?
Yes, a
pocket,
fake
as
thing.
Regarded, I suppose you could use it if you're about to sneeze, but I don't think that was the idea of them, really, was it?
Stars B also says disposable hankies means the lurgies go into the bin sooner, in my opinion. Yes, opinion.
Anyway, I'll sign off shortly.
All right,
Square. You mentioned Desmond Morris.
I did.
Wrote a book called The Human Zoo.
He did.
So that sort of links with our talk about bad manners and
mannerisms. He did. That's right. The Human Zoo, and he also did one called Man Watching. He did Woman Watching as well.
Yes, well, I hope he wasn't looking at boobs, but don't know.
No, it was 1970. The Man Watching one I've got is about that bit. I don't know whether I got The Human Zoo, but I know he wrote that as well. But that's right. It was all about observing people and comparing us really to apes, I think he was. Basically, in other words, I think his thesis was that a lot of what we do is quite primeval. It is instinctive. It is less learned and more natural.
Yeah, I think some of our politicians going back to the apiary, but anyway, we won't go down that route.
Yes, a lot of them are Neanderthal. Anyway, lovely to talk to you, Terry. Thank you very much for calling in.
Cheers, and
take care. Look after yourself.
And you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Terry Banton there, all the way from the water that is of the south, which is very nice. Thank you very much for your comments coming in. Lots of interesting comments there. Dave Ivad says, lip up, fatty reggae. Not quite sure what he's talking about there. And Simon says, hey, John B, yay back. That does almost sound like sort of 1970s street talk. Ron Langley says, you must have big pockets to Paul Cockrell. I'm not quite sure why he's saying that. Oh, I have a toilet roll in my pocket. Oh, right, fair enough. I just find the paper stuff is that's even worse because you're potentially, you may not hit the bin, it all gets it's all over your fingers, it's gone through. I think a handkerchief is fine. I mean, if you clean handkerchief each day should, unless you've got a cold, then you might need streaming papers and things like that. I understand that, but generally a clean handkerchief every day should be sufficient, I would have thought. I mean, it's lasted people for years, absolute years, I say, absolute shower. Anyway, it's time now, ladies and gentlemen, for a film. Would you like to see and watch a film? I'm sure you would, wouldn't you? I'm absolutely fond of this sort of thing. It's marvellous, isn't it? All this technology. Now, I believe if I press a button here. Now, I'm really a bit bemused at this. I can't remember what the story is with this. David Vad sent me this. David Vad sends me the most peculiar things. We love David Vad. He's a comedy genius. I can't quite work out whether this was his dad, a dad that he just happened to film, or maybe it's him. Who knows? But this is a bit of dad dancing. He thought it was essential that we saw a little bit of that. So he sent it in, and let's enjoy a bit. So there you go. Make of that what you will. That's a little bit of dad dancing there. Thanks, Dave Ifad. Do send more of those in. We want to see mum dancing next. Let's have a look, see what he says. That's busy bloke in the background. Yes, he was like crossing forwards and backwards, wasn't he? God knows what he was up to. I love a bit of editing, says Starsby. Absolutely, some great dancing there. Fantastic. Superb. Daventry Evan was a genius, full stop, says Michael White. I don't know who Daventry Evan was, but I'm sure he was. Anyway, we've got more videos to get through before the end of the show. If you'd like to give us a call on any of the subjects that we haven't actually been talking about, then 07934746 is 790 is the number that we are talking about, or that's the number for you to ring in. Let's go to another video. This is interesting because this is from Stephen Agger, and I think he's got a ticket to ride. Yeah, do you remember that song by the Beatles? Was that all about going down to the Isle of Wight? We got a ticket to ride, but we don't care. Something like that, wasn't it? Was it about the Beatles having a day out on the Isle of Wight with their ticket to ride? Was it a return ticket, I wonder? And did they manage to get onto these new trains? New, brand spanking new trains. We've got a bit of a dad and train theme on tonight's show in terms of the videos. Let's go back into the... And Stephen Agger can demonstrate exactly these. This is a new trains on the Ride Esplanade. Oh, isn't that a lovely word? I love the word Esplanade. You can't get that into conversation enough, in my opinion.
37 Iron Line service to Ride, clear edge only. Please mind the gap and step when boarding and lighting from the train. Thank you.
Ride Esplanade. This train is for Ride Pier Head. The next station is Ride Pier Head. Please mind the gap between the train and the platform edge. Welcome aboard this Island Line service to Ride Pier Head. Calling at Ride Pier Head. The next station is Ride Pier Head. Station is Ride Pier Head, the final stop for this service.
All change, please. All change. Thank you. There we are. That was Stephen Agger on the Ride Esplanade. How exciting is that, eh? That I want an ice cream, says Sean's gardening world. Absolutely. Mind the gap. Shut your trap. There we are. Interesting to see that. Those trains, were they nice? Were they comfortable to ride on? I imagine they must be the state of the art. But what about the uniforms of the train guards and things? Have they got nice uniforms? Have they got anything like the uniforms that Station Master's Choice has? Or is you never see anybody anymore? It's all done by robots. We seem to be doing away with people because they're just unreliable, they're smelly, they get old, they cause problems, they need to go to the lavatory, they don't always shave, and they've got BO. Whereas machines, of course, are perfectly wonderful, neutral. They don't talk to you unless they just want to be giving you a robotic voice to instruct you. No personality. Machines don't tend to laugh at jokes, do they? There's no humanity in them. I don't trust it. I like the old way. Elaine Whitelock says spitting is a disgusting habit. Elaine, we've done that subject. We've talked about that. Thank you. People are so old hat, says John B, aren't they? We've got to go into the way of the future. Of course we have. We've got to make sure that machines do everything. After all, people are useless. I mean, what would we do? What would we do if the Tomorrow's World... Do you remember Tomorrow's World back then in the 1980s? It used to say, in the future, you will not need to work. You'll have so much leisure time. And I thought, well, what would people do with it? Having a job, working, doing something, having a goal is part of life, isn't it? It gives you motivation. It gives you a purpose. It gives you satisfaction. If all you have to do is sit and watch the Vobes show day after day after day, where's the satisfaction in that? Mark Burgess says you should see the uniform of the limo train staff. Very Star Trek. I don't know what the limo train is. Is that is it limo or limo? Very Star Trek. Yeah, why do people copy Star Trek for their costume? Must be very... I always thought Star Trek was the most ridiculous sort of costumes because it surely gets cold in space, doesn't it? They would beam down to a planet. They'd be on a planet. There's no sun visible for miles away. And they'd beam down in basically T-shirts or some sort of sweaty, long-sleeved tight-fitting shirts. I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean, I know back in those days the studios had very old-fashioned lights. They didn't have LED lights that didn't emit any heat whatsoever. I mean, barely any light comes out of my LEDs compared to the old redheads and blondes of the old days. Kerry Baldwin says, so when we frazzle in this climate crisis... So when we all frazzle in this climate crisis, will AI take over the Vobes show? There isn't, but I don't know what climate crisis you're on about. This is a complete and utter scam. Audrey Forbes is talking to somebody else. John B says, "Is the Vobes show is my window to the world?" Yes, I'm sorry. This climate crisis is rubbish. And I was thinking about this now. Anybody who listened to The Naked Englishman this morning, the podcast that I do, will have heard me pontificate, if that's the correct terminology, about that mob, the cultists, the latest cult. If you're middle-aged to elderly and don't have anything to do with your life and you feel like you've done enough, then you can join Insulate Britain because they seem to be the latest crazy cult that seem to be insisting on getting run over, and I wish they would. There's a couple of things with this. One, I came up with a solution for all the drivers. If you're driving along and some middle-aged to elderly people sit down on the motorway and stop your car from going along, came up with the solution to get rid of them. What all the drivers should simply do is get out their cabs, because they can't go anywhere anyway, and sit right in front, peacefully in front, as close as you can, so you're invading these idiots' personal space, and look at them. Just look at them, but get that close, peacefully, but just get into their personal space. I don't think they would sit there for very long. They're going to sit there with their signage and what have you, and you take their sign away, that's not a problem, and then just sit there and then look at them. because I think that they would find that very uncomfortable for an hour or so. And effectively, if that continually happened, every time they came out onto the road and they went, right, we're going to stop the traffic, sit down here, and the drivers just immediately leapt out their cabs and went and sat down in front of them, then I think they would back off, because they would find, oh, hang on a minute, this isn't the way we would. No, I think they've trained so that people can scream at them and say, oh, why don't you move your car, get out of the way. They're used to that. But what they're not used to is people sitting really close. You get as close as you can, so it's really uncomfortable for them, and just stay there. I think that would move them. And that's what you need to do. You need to beat them at their own game. Plus the fact, I find them very odd, because they have absolutely no sense of... well, they don't want to budge an inch, do they? They won't budge an inch, not, I mean, on the road, but with their cultish thoughts. It's like, well, we've got this vision of the future, climate crisis, and we're all going to frazzle, as they always say, and say, oh, what do you think it's going to be like with our children and the children of the future? You know, what do you think it would be like if it's 2 degrees? And it's like, well, it's either their version of what the climate crisis is, not anybody else's version, not a slightly less catastrophic version of it. It's like their extreme version or nothing. And they'll say, oh, well, we're going to do this until you do something about it, government. Well, that's blackmail. You don't pay off kidnappers, and you don't pay off blackmail. That's, I mean, 2 of the no-nos that you just don't do. And governments should never be blackmailed into doing it, because you know, if the government turned round and said, oh, all right, well, we better do this because it will get them off the streets, then any other cause or any other ridiculous idea, of course, people will go, yeah, what we want more mushrooms, more magic mushrooms in every dinner we have. And people will sit down on the table. We're protesting about no lack of magic mushrooms in our dinner. And, you know, you can see it, can't you, that everybody will be doing exactly that. Kerry Baldwin says 10k polar bears in 1960, 25k now. They are increasing. Exactly. There are more polar bears. I mean, it's the most ridiculous arguments they have. What they don't realise is in the old days, they used to shoot polar bears. Well, we don't shoot polar bears anymore. That's why their numbers suddenly dropped. Well, we don't shoot them, and they're breeding like rabbits. Only they just don't have the cute, cuddly ears as they have. Take away their Werther's originals, says Sean James Cameron. Yeah, exactly. So I think that's the best way of dealing with these nutters. Anna Jones says, are the Lumos the new ones that go to Edinburgh? I don't know what's Lumos? Lumos. What is that? Clive Waterfall says, anyone see the classic photo the other day of Insulate Britain holding up a lorry, the insulation load, of insulation board? Yeah, I did. Yeah, I saw that. The irony, and they were questioned about it, and the odd lorry, you know, it's not going to make any difference. The thing is, they're always going on about, oh, we want to protect our children in the future. Never mind the poor cancer child in the car trying to get to hospital who needs to have that life-changing operation. They don't seem to be worried about the people who they have no idea. They're not worried about the people here and now who are living today. They're talking about, oh, my children, my children's children. Well, excuse me, they may not even be alive. We're talking about people who are actually here and now. You don't give a monkeys about them. Oh, no, because the planet is going, and if we don't do this. The other thing they do, sorry, I got onto a bit of a rant, they always compare it to blooming Germany. They say, oh, but when the Germans were coming during the war, we all got the war spirit and we all clubbed together. Yes, that's because, A, we could see the Germans were doing what they were. It was actually happening, and it was fact. It wasn't some made-up guff that, oh, well, we believe that the climate change is happening, and a lot of people... But it's not actually happening, is it? We're not seeing people frazzling in the streets. It's not actually happening. Oh, but it's going to happen in the future. Well, it's a prediction. That's just a prediction. It's not... And that might be computer modelling. It's a prediction. It's not actually happening. So you can't can't compare it to the German situation in the war when Hitler and his army were killing and murdering people and invading through Europe. And of course we saw the danger. When and if we see the danger coming and we see people are frazzled to death, we will do something about it. We will have the technology. People are working on it. But at the moment, they're blackmailed for their sort of stupid cultist thing, I'm afraid, is putting them off. And every time anyone says, well, your cause is upsetting the general public, they go, it's not a cause, it's not a cause, oh, it's not a cause. And you just think, well, I just wish you'd frazzle up yourselves. They are chieftain tankers, says Dave Vivad. They certainly are. Seabird says, get a truck with manure on and let the manure go all over the idiots. I know, I do wish I was involved in the front line driving my car, because I think I would have other things to do with them. Some are in their 70s and say the Ice Age is on their way. Yeah, there you go. Michael White says there is a great video on YouTube all about the lies David Attenborough has spread. Well, I'm afraid I do tend to agree that unfortunately, David Attenborough, who is a very well-loved person and has done some amazing things, has kind of overgone the line, I think. I think we're all going to find that the so-called crisis is not as crisis as everybody is saying it is. Mr. Mocky says you have to be so careful typing a cult thing. Autocorrect really doesn't like it. And Andrew Norris says, I saw that, Kerry, and someone squirted them with ketchup. Someone poured ink over their heads as well. They are a bit bonkers. I was watching a video just before. We've got one more video, by the way, to come in on the show before we go. I was watching a video. I don't know if you ever watch History Debunked, a great channel with Simon Webb, who's often putting some very interesting points forward. He was just talking about this so-called green agenda that we're all supposed to be going to, and the fact that we're all having these wind turbines and what a scam they are for CO2. I don't know if you noticed that. And he was trying to work out, and I hadn't checked the figures, but he was sort of saying, basically these wind turbines, of which we've got some ridiculous number. He did list the number. I can't remember. It was some ridiculous large number we've got. In order to get them up, they've got to be housed in concrete. In order to get the concrete, huge amount of concrete, tons and tons of concrete, it's got to be in the ground to hold just one of these turbines up. Well, all of that, in order to not only get the ballast into place, but to create the cement, which is from lime, all takes energy, which of course comes from burning either trees or coal, which then creates CO2 into the atmosphere. So there's a lot of so-called, carbon going in the atmosphere. Then there's all the steel for the thing that goes up and the blades that go round and all the plastics and all of that goes into it and the wiring and everything else, which all takes an enormous amount of energy to create the right steel. And you get all that, so that chucks up a hell of a lot of CO2 into the atmosphere, just for one, and then you replicate that on all the different ones that you're doing, and they only last for about 20 years, and apparently, after that, they're pretty useless. The concrete is shot to pieces, the propellers are particularly the ones in the sea, are no good, because they've been eroded by the salt air. And so they have to be chopped up and chucked into landfill. So after 20 years, you've got to start the whole process again of chucking out all this CO2 into the atmosphere. And you think, wait a minute, are we actually saving anything? Plus the fact, of course, we mustn't forget that CO2, carbon, is very good for us. We need it. Plants need this CO2. So I just find the whole thing so laughable, and that people get so wrapped up in it and go, oh, we're all going to die. You think, well, actually, we've been in this situation many, many times before, and but we didn't all die. So there we are. They say electric cars are 50% worse than petrol. Yes, I think that's probably true by the cost. I mean, I also listened to somebody talking about by the time you've worked out how much an electric car costs to how many gallons of petrol that you can use before you get up to the point that you've paid for the electric car, that actually, and then when it gets to, about 5 years down the line, 6 years, it's a bit battered, change the battery, which is going to cost you an arm and a leg. It's just it's not worth it. Plus the fact that if everyone's charging all this electric, where is the electricity coming from? Because you can't rely on solar and on wind power. So we clearly need nuclear, but of course it takes like 20 to 30 years to get a nuclear power station going. Stars B says coal plants and gas plants are also made of concrete. That's right, but the argument with coal plants and gas plants is they're not trying to stop CO2 going into the atmosphere, are they? But these wind turbines, they're saying that is all about having free green energy. But actually, the backside story of it is that it's not really saving us green energy at all. It's creating more problems than already. John Richardson says the evidence on climate change is there for all to see. And of course, the contrary evidence is also there for all to see. I mean, it's the same with most things. Not all scientists agree on it. People are moved to extreme action because nobody in charge is doing anything. Odd that people are content to just watch it unveil. It's an opinion, and I appreciate your opinion, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. We have been here in this situation many times before, and there is contrary evidence. So, on the one hand, you can say, oh, but it's a done deal, this is the science. But there is no such thing as the science, as we know, having gone through the COVID situation in which everyone was told, well, that's the science. You must do this and you must do that. But contrary to opinion, it seems that actually if you've been unvaccinated, it seems that your health if of a certain age, under whatever it is, 70 or whatever, you've got a better chance of fighting off the stuff than not. But I appreciate your point of view, John. It's very nice of you to mention it. Michael White says, watch the Simon Webb interview on the New Culture Forum with Peter Whittle. I watched that too. It's very interesting. Station Master's Choice says batteries are lithium that will expire when we are all electric. Yes, and we got to go to places of the Middle East to get that, where it's unstable governments at the moment, like in Afghanistan. So Alison O'Brien says we're all going to die, nothing to do with climate change. Absolutely. John says we're doomed. I don't think we're doomed at all. Sean James Cameron says all the electric car chargers in Westfield Shopping Centre in London didn't work for 12 hours last week because too many people were plugged into it. Nobody could get home. There you go. Isn't that that's the way it is? Ray of Hope says nuclear is not the green answer. When it goes wrong, it's an environmental disaster for decades. That's assuming that it will go wrong. I think we've learnt a hell of a lot of lessons since the old Chernobyl days, have we not? And the what's the other one? The Pharmasuka. You know, the one in Japan that went tits up because of the tsunami and whatever. Ronnie Raisin, there's a lovely name, isn't it? Like a lovely alliteration. He says the idea that they can control the weather has to be the ultimate in human arrogance and hubris. I totally agree. Absolutely. It's totally nonsense. Watch Bjorn Lomberg. He has plenty to say on the other side, says Kerry Baldwin. Many do. Sean Buttimer says the people who have taken the needlecraft are more likely to get kung fu than to get us unpricked. Yes, well, it seems that... yes, Fukushima. Thank you very much. Fukushima to you too, mate. It does seem that we have been conned, have we not? With the vaccine, of course, we've been conned down another avenues like, well, it was 3 weeks to flatten the curve, wasn't it? 3 weeks to flatten the curve and we'll be fine. Oh no, we're going to lock you down. No, we're going to lock you down again. We'll lock you down at Christmas. We'll lock you down in the new year. Then we'll give you the vaccine and it will be fine. Oh no, you need 2 shots of the vaccine. Okay. Oh no, actually, you need a booster shot of the vaccine. And you just think, hang on a minute, nobody ever said that. Originally, the vaccine was just for the infirm and the over 80s and the rest of us could get on with it. No, that's not it either. It's like the government and many of the people seem to think that we don't remember. I still remember 3 weeks to flatten the curve. I still remember that we were waiting for this vaccine, this marvellous vaccine. It was only for those over 70 and the infirm or the vulnerable, and everybody else would be fine. I remember that. But then suddenly it's this huge push, and then they want to vaccinate children. I mean, it's absolutely, totally and utterly ridiculous. It just goes on and on and on. Now we've got to have booster shots. And then what? We'll have to have more booster shots. I mean, somebody's making a lot of money out of this. Follow the money. That's what you've got to do. Follow the money. Who's making the money? Who made the money out of all the PPE that we're supposed to have? This awful personal protection equipment. Well, that seems to be the same people that gave us the virus was making the money from the PPE that we suddenly needed to know. And we've littered the planet. Nobody seems to give a damn that we've littered the planet with all these stupid masks that have done nothing. The masks, by the way, which Scotland and Wales seem to have kept and have got higher death rates and higher people in hospital than we have in England, who haven't done anything with the masks. We've got rid of the masks in most places. And so how does that work? Oh, well, we're still going to have more mask mandates. But it's clear that they don't work. I mean, people are just being led down this pipe. But surely, I mean, at some point, people are going to wake up and realise, wait a minute, the mainstream media is not right. The mainstream media keep telling us this stuff, this drip, drip, drip message that, soon people will wake up. Ray of Hope says, if something can go wrong, it will go wrong. It's only a matter of time. Nuclear is not 100% safe. I don't know how safe it is, but I think it's a lot safer than we are led to believe. That's my opinion. Whether I'm right or wrong, of course, I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that I am absolutely right. It is only an opinion, just as I'm assuming that yours is an opinion as well. People are very easy to sort of say this is a state of fact, but everything written there is an opinion unless you are a actual expert, and even then it's only the opinion of an expert. Stars B says it was an educated guess and people still don't know what the impact of the virus will be on humanity in the long-term impacts on the vaccines. Yes, well, we don't really know what the impact of the vaccine is going to be, do we? Because we haven't had a proper long enough trial to see what I mean, clearly we didn't know that the vaccines would wear out, and yet we were all immediately given that so that we all had to go down there. Perhaps, and I'm only saying perhaps our natural immunity for those people who are under 70 and not with comorbidities, natural immune systems could have been much better than the vaccine. Nobody considered that. No, we've got everybody. It's like this mad panic, and somebody somewhere is counting the money. Wake up, for God's sake, says Sean Buttermore. Yes, brainwashed. Chris says, have you forgotten the Brexit promises? I don't even know what the Brexit promises are. Brainwash, Chris. I don't know why you're so brainwashed about Brexit. You're so anti-Brexit. Everyone's, anti-Brexit. Give Brexit a bloody chance, for goodness sake. David Vad's big farmers use Ansol. I don't know what that is. Heat pumps. Utter useless in this country. It never gets hot enough for long enough to heat the ground. Here we go. We got a phone call. I was only doing an hour, but we'll have a quick phone call and then I'll show the video at the end. Hello, caller. Welcome to the show.
Hello, how you doing? I'm doing the usual thing of failing to turn my other bloody phone off.
No, fail to turn your other bloody phone off.
I know it's gone dead. I think I'll throw it in the bin.
Yes.
Hold on a minute.
No, don't throw it in the bin.
I'm going to flush it down the toilet. Hold on.
Yep.
Here we go.
Yep. Alan Sandell, ladies and gentlemen. How are you, Alan?
Yeah, I didn't actually flush it down the loo, but it's almost dead.
Yeah, never mind.
I thought I'd give you a break from talking.
Yeah, thanks. I was getting hot under the collar. I was trying to get to a video, but somehow sort of got down on the old Passion Road.
Yeah, yes. Well, I quite understand. I mean, I think I mentioned to you when we had our first telephone conversation by accident, because I was trying to figure out how to get through to the station, that I have got a friend in the USA who's a virus expert, and he was never in any doubt that we'd have to keep having jabs, because do we get one flu jab and that's it for life?
No, that's right. We don't.
So it was never going to be like that. I don't know, I don't know if politicians gave that impression, but
in the past, you see, we've always thought of a vaccine, isn't it? You have your polio vaccine, but you only have it once. You have that lump of sugar with a little bit of whatever it's in it, and you have that. You have your MMR, but you only have
viruses.
I don't know. I don't know what they are.
No, I don't know either, mate. It gets a bit complicated.
But when they talk of a vaccine, you always think of a vaccine. You have it and you can't get the thing. Then suddenly, it's not. So I don't think of it really. Oh, that was a little squirrel came in. Can you hear that?
Squirrel?
There's a squirrel. Did you hear the squirrel?
I hate squirrels. I hear that squirrel. Yeah.
Yeah, he's listening in on us.
I bought some little bird feeders to hang up this year, and I put some of the suet balls in one of them, which the squirrel absolutely loved. And when he'd eaten enough of it for it to be light enough, he picked it up and carried it off underneath the fence, little bugger.
Oh, that's what we like to hear.
Yeah, but some workmen came along today and put panels all along the bottom of the fence, so he'll have to climb over if he wants another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the other thing is about those blue masks.
Yes.
They aren't medical.
They're not medical, no.
No, if you want a disposable mask that'll cut out, 92 to 95% of the aerosol viruses, you've got to pay 8 to 10 quid on Amazon.
8 to 10 pounds. And are they reusable?
No.
No.
That's what you need to make a difference. I don't know. So these people in the night, we were told not to buy little blue masks at the outset, weren't we? Do you remember Mr. Hancock telling us, "Oh no, you shouldn't buy those because we need them for the national health"?
Yeah. We need to give China a lot of money so that we can import them for the national health. Have a bit of a rag instead. Stick a towel around your face.
Yeah, which is what they did in the first big flu pandemic, wasn't it? That's all they had. But no, those little blue masks are almost useless. They might give you some protection, according to my expert friend, for about 15 minutes. Then they've got damp from your breath, and which, the virus can get through. And anyway, they don't fit tightly to your face. Mine, every time I put one on, my glasses steam up, and I can't see where I'm going. I mean, they're useless.
They are totally and utterly useless, and clearly they don't work. I watched a guy who was explaining that we've been told that these particles, they're like when you breathe out, they hang about in the air because in the air vapor. So this guy put 5 of these was it 5? Something like that. 5 of these blue masks on, and he went outside into the cold, and he said, in theory, then you should not see any air vapor come out of my mouth. And you did. And he said, well, if you can see the air vapor coming out of my mouth, what's to stop COVID, as these microparticles, coming out through it?
Absolutely. And with me, it just goes up past my nose and on my glasses. And because your breath is hotter than the air around you, it'll go up to the ceiling of the room and hang around there and float about. And the tests have been done. It doesn't matter how big the room is, it'll get all over the room.
Yeah, absolutely. And anyway, I'm getting a weird feedback every time I talk. I don't quite know. Am I on loudspeaker or something?
Oh yeah, I'll turn that off. Sorry, I'm a bit deaf.
Bit deaf?
I'm a bit. What is it, Mutt and Jeff?
Mutt and Jeff. Oh, that's better.
No, you're on. Yeah, well, that's better. I've got you next to my ear hole now.
Oh, next.
Well, those are the only 2 things I had to say, really. I think everybody here would like to wish Julia all the best. Get well soon.
Yes.
We'd love to see her back.
We'd like to see her back and her front. To be honest with you, her front is much better than her back. She's got a lovely face and all of that. Better not be rude. She's probably watching.
I know you're trying to do short shows these winter nights, bloody terrible things.
I know.
But, so all the best and get on with the videos.
Yes,
nice
I'll get the last video in and then I can bugger off and have a cup of tea.
Very good. Cheers.
Yeah, look after yourself. Thanks, Alan. Take care.
Andrew, good night.
Bye-bye. And as you can see, Alan Sandell there has got the best... Thanks. He's got the best policy, really. In order to stop me from talking, you need to ring in 0793 4746 790. Remember that for Wednesday. A lot of hot conversation going on in the chat room. But it'd be lovely if you were to talk to me. If you've got a different opinion, particularly like Ray of Hope talking about the nuclear things. I'd love to hear more on that, on your angle on it, because and also. Stars B. Do try and ring in. It would be lovely to have a proper conversation over the phone about it rather than me just spouting my old nonsense, which may or may not be true. You never can tell. I mean, if it comes out my gob, it could be just made up on the spare of the moment. But what wasn't made up on the spare of the moment is Mark Burgess, who was out earlier today, and he was filming a train in which his dad was driving. Let's have a look.
Hello everyone, this is the second of today's videos I've done. I'm recording this at our railway station here in St Mary's Bay, and today the trains that are running, one of them, which is being pulled by number 6 Samson today, has my dad driving the train, and he's doing a driver experience course this weekend, so several times during the day he's going to be driving up and down. So this is his second journey today. Just departed Hive about 20 minutes ago, and he's now on approach to our station. He won't be stopping here because the trains aren't stopping at this station currently. The train will be passing through, but hopefully as he passes through we'll be able to wave to him in the cab and send him on his way. So while that's approaching in the distance, just a reminder, picked this cutting of a plant, this unusual flower on it. Still don't know quite what it is. I think it might be a clematis, but I'm not sure. Be interested to know if anybody can recognise it and tell me what it is. Came prepared with some snacks and drinks while waiting for the trains to come through. So the train is getting closer and gradually make out the front end of the boiler approaching. Dog barking in the distance there. It's gradually getting closer. Level crossing has just started to set for the road to get barriers down, and the train is approaching. Hearing it chuffing now. Oh, there's the whistle. There he is. There's my dad. There you go, it's my dad driving a train on this lovely November sunny day. Yeah, there we go. Hope you enjoyed that.
Yes, we did. We did enjoy it. Thank you so much, Mark. That was lovely. Great to see your dad driving the train there. Chuff, chuff. Push, cuff, push, cuff, push, cuff. Boop, boop. Ivor the engine. Used to love Ivor the engine and all of that kind of stuff. Anyway, there we go. Thank you so much. Well worth the wait for the Romney Hythe and Dymchurch line. How lovely. Proud son, as Andrew Norris says. Absolutely nice little video. I'm sure I saw him waving back. There we go. I have driven diesel number 4 on the Romney Hythe and Dymchurch, says Station Master's Choice. Fantastic. Right, I will be back on Wednesday. Hope you will join me for more outrageousness and stupidity. Don't forget, if you want to send in a video, you can do very easily. Use the wetransfer.com service. Send it to me, richard@vobes.com, using them instructions in the description. If you have any problems, just email me first and I'll tell you how it works. So there we go. Callum Davis says, how are you today? I'm all right, just finishing the show off. So there you go. Tracy Murphy says, such a lovely video. Reminds me of the watercress line in Hampshire. Indeedy weedy weedy. Anyway, that's it for tonight. Tomorrow on the Bald Explorer, Ringer Ollie and Ricardo go off in search of a church that isn't there. But will we find it? You'll have to look up for that. Thanks for coming along. Lovely to see Judith out there. Thanks for her to moderate, and to lovely Julia, who's not very well, so we wish that she does get well very soon. And to you guys for typing away. Big thanks to David Ved for his dad dancing, for Stephen Agger for the new trains on the Ride Esplanade, and Mark Burgess with his dad driving a train. You see the connection there? Oh, it's all seamlessly put together. Big thanks to Alan Sandell and Tony Banton for ringing in. But that's it on tonight's show on November the 8th, 2021. From me, Richard Vobes, take care, look after yourselves. Bye-bye.